I mean, the waste report in entitlement spending, Democrats attract and retain illegal immigrants by essentially paying them to come here and then turning them into voters.
Let's watch Elon Musk on Fox News as he still refuses to do Jon Stewart or any host that'll actually give him some pushback. He still shows he's not very good at communication, even in this softball interview. So be sure to take a second to like the video. It helps us grow a bunch. And let's get into the fact checking with the richest man in the world.
I mean, the waste report in entitlement spending, which is which is most of the federal spending is entitlements. That's like the big one to eliminate, because that's the sort of $500 billion, maybe $700 billion a year. That is also a mechanism by which the Democrats attract and retain illegal immigrants by essentially paying them to come here and then turning them into voters.
There is literally nothing you could call this except unintelligent. When he says entitlement spending, he means Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, food stamps, etc., which does make up some of the largest portions of our spending. But you know what else makes up a large portion of our budget? The defense spending. And unlike entitlement spending, the defense budget has failed 7 or 8 audits in a row to where they now refuse to even do audits because they know they're going to fail them. They've lost $800 billion just out of thin air, of which has also paid Elon to the tune of $22 billion, of which is conveniently being left out of these massive DOGE cuts as they look for waste and fraud, because Elon's $8 million a day that he gets is affordable, but your grandparents' $65 a day from Social Security is way too much, of which save us all money, not just through providing care and retirement help, but in allowing us to save money by not having to care for our parents or grandparents.
When people criticize, say, what DOGE is doing, we say, well, which part specifically? Because we put all of the actions of the DOGE team on the doge.gov website and on the DOGE handle on X. So we post the receipts. So it's like this action has been taken, this action has been taken. So when we get criticism, we say, like, of what? Which line do you disagree with? Like which cost saving do you disagree with? And then people usually can't think of any.
I can. It's all the lies, like $50 million for condoms to Hamas that he had to walk back, or, the multitude of contracts that they've listed multiple times when it's only supposed to be one that overinflates the worth, like the single $25 million contract that they stated 4 times is $100 million, or reporting $2 billion that they had to revise down to $18 million. I mean, the list goes on, really. We could do a whole video on just that. They tried to take credit for cuts that happened under the Bush administration, for Christ's sake. Like, it's clearly all just a lie set up for 2 reasons, really. Recklessly cutting social programs, firing employees to better afford the rich guy tax cuts, but also to spread the waste and fraud propaganda to set the stage to cut Social Security and Medicare, probably to fund further tax cuts down the line.
But the president is the elected representative of the people. And if the president cannot get things implemented as a reflection of the will of the people, then what we have is not a democracy, we have a bureaucracy. We have rule of the bureau, not rule of the people. And that's what we're trying to defeat here, is the bureaucracy and have rule of the people. And as you mentioned, the bureaucracy is overwhelmingly Democrat. So Washington, D.C. was 92.5%, I believe, voted for Kamala. So this is overwhelmingly a deep blue situation.
This is like his new favorite line, and there's so much wrong with it. I don't know why he keeps using it. First off, this idea that only the president is elected to reflect the will of the people, therefore he needs unchecked power or else it's not democracy, is insane. Congress, the House and Senate, are all elected with democratic power to reflect the will of their voters. You can even go down to like governors and mayors if you want to get really specific, but within the ordinance of their respective branch of government, I think is the most important part in terms of what they're voted to do. Trump was elected to handle the duties of the executive, but not to overstep and take power from the House and slashing and freezing funds that have already been appropriated, or from the Senate to allow Elon Musk to not be confirmed through the Senate, but still have all this unchecked power, or to ignore the judicial through the different court rulings. Also, if he's really doing the will of the people, he wouldn't do the unpopular things. DOGE is unpopular. He would end that. Talks of invading sovereign countries is unpopular. It's all things that were never even mentioned on the campaign campaign trail. And then really quickly to end, the only 13% of the population in DC works for the government. He's mentioning, 90% of DC voted for Kamala to pretend that this is reflective of government bureaucrats all being liberals. But in DC, it's about 49,000 people who work for the government. If we're being generous and say that the 92% is reflective of those workers, it's 45,000 total. That is out of 2.4 million non-active duty federal employees, or around 1.8%. So like, who even cares? It's 1% of federal employees. Most federal employees, however, are veterans, a population that it's 1 in 3 federal employees, but not most, but 1 in 3 federal employees are veterans. This is a population that overwhelmingly votes Republicans, but you never hear him mention that statistic. I wonder why that is.